Department Q, created by Chandi Lakhani and the acclaimed filmmaker Scott Frank. If you've been searching for a new show to binge, you could stop your searching because this is the show for you. I feel like the detective mystery drama is the most universal genre that everyone loves, and this show does it right. So the show follows Detective Carl Mork, who is played by Matthew Good. And boy is he good. He's great. He is such an interesting detective, such a entertaining character that is very reminiscent of Gregory House, to be honest. Very intelligent, and I've never seen Matthew Good play a character like this before. He's always such a classy, put together, proper man. And here he is disheveled, miserable, vulgar. And I really found that very entertaining, and he's hilarious. Right off the bat, the show's writing is very funny, but the show is not a comedy whatsoever. It's just British humor or Scottish humor sprinkled throughout the entire show. And I just absolutely loved it. It makes the show very entertaining while dealing with all these dark subject matters and mysteries. So, as I said, the story follows Detective Mork. He's just getting back into action after suffering a shooting on a past case, which was his fault. I love that the show starts that way, with setting up this character as being very intelligent, but much like Gregory House, because he's so intelligent, he has a lot of arrogance and a lot of hubris. I won't spoil it, but he lets that get to him, and he suffered the consequences, and so did other people suffer the consequences of his actions. So while he's dealing with this trauma and this remorse, he gets appointed to be the department head, Department Q, and this department will be reopening cold cases. So that's essentially the plot. I don't want to give too much away because I want you to check it out. And I want you to experience it the way I experienced it, which was relatively blind, because I feel like that's the best way to experience this show. The show is incredibly well written, very complex story, and very rich characters. It's not just Detective Mork, there's others as well, and I just love the way they're written. Some characters, like, they don't get a backstory, they don't get a whole episode dedicated to them and their dying mother or something like that. It's all just alluded to. Like, someone has arachnophobia. It has nothing to do with the plot, but it just makes them interesting. It makes them human. It makes them have depth. Someone else is dealing with a lot of stuff with health issues and home life. Akram, he has a very interesting past in Syria. And you just don't know what he did over there, but you just get the feeling that he's like Detective Jim Gordon from the Batman universe. Just like a really good principled man, but at the same time, he'll play dirty if he needs to, you know? And of course, Detective Mork, he's has so much going on. You just feel like they allude to him having a past. Him and his, I don't know if it's called commissioner in Scotland, but like his commissioner, they allude to them having like a past. Not like romantic or anything, but like he's made mistakes in the past and she's always had his back. Or maybe he's had her back, or I don't know, like they just allude to a history there. They have a relationship. Because everyone hates Carl Mork. Everyone feels like he's such a jerk. He's such an entitled douchebag, but she's the only one that has his back, even though she also like finds him annoying. So these characters are just written to be so interesting and to feel like such real people. Even Rose, I really enjoyed her. In the beginning, when she was introduced, I was kind of like, what's her character gonna be? Just like the young feminist girl or something? But no, I feel like her dynamic is really entertaining. She's very, very good actress and very funny. And the way she bounces off with all these other older men is very entertaining. And she holds her own against them. And I think that the show treats her with respect, and I really enjoyed her character. But the main plot is a missing persons case. That is the cold case that they're doing. It's 4 years old, and that's a very interesting case. And I just think, obviously, I don't know what it's like to be a detective, but I would imagine there's so many avenues of inquiry that you could have. And I feel like the show does a great job of portraying that. Like, there's an obvious person to go after, someone who assaulted her, but then she has all these enemies. And her line of work, she's an attorney, she's made a lot of enemies. But there's affairs going on. Her boss has his own complex stuff going on. And then she also has a very dark, interesting past when she was a teenager. And I just feel like there's just so many avenues that keep you guessing, and I love that. So I just found like the case a very interesting, very satisfying mystery. And while this is all going on, there's a secondary case going on. The case from where Carl Mork got shot. And he can't be involved with that because he's a victim in it, so his peers are handling that case. But we're constantly checking back into that case. and getting updates. And it's also very interesting because that's how the show starts. So I just found it very complex, and I think the show does, for me, the show doesn't feel convoluted. I think it's just very compelling, very interesting. There's a lot going on. But yeah, all in all, I thought this was a great binge. I personally loved it a lot, and I honestly think most people will enjoy this a lot, especially if you're like me and you love British, Scottish aesthetics and culture and all that. I just think the show is very entertaining. Great mystery, great writing. Honestly, no complaints. And the show is left open for a season 2, so I can't wait for that. I really hope it gets greenlit because I don't think it's been greenlit yet. But that last episode is very much setting up a season 2. So check it out. Let's get those numbers up so we make sure that we get a season 2. And just a small little fun fact. Apparently this show is based off of a book, which, that's in the credits and whatnot. But it's also based off a Swedish film series. So there's like a trilogy, I believe, much like the Millennium Trilogy in Sweden. So I found that interesting because when I was Googling Department Q, I kept seeing like these other characters, and I was like, what the hell? So interesting fun fact there. But yeah, check it out, and thanks for watching.